Welcome to This Explainer. Look, if you're involved in child and youth services, you already know the reality on the ground. Children don't just experience care through a single isolated program, right? They experience it through a really complex web of relationships. But behind the scenes, organizations are absolutely struggling to keep that web connected. So today, we're diving straight into the deep operational realities facing nonprofit youth organizations, and we're going to look at what's actually happening out there.
40%. That is the percentage of children in foster care who experience 3 or more placements every single year. Just take a second to imagine that level of instability. This isn't just a statistic on a page. It represents a real child having to pack up their entire life, change schools, and try to build trust with completely new adults over and over again, all within a 12-month window. This instability is the baseline reality that youth service organizations are trying to manage and mitigate every single day.
And, that instability for the kids is heavily compounded by the intense pressures placed on caregivers. Foster parent turnover rates can actually reach up to 50% annually. Being a foster parent is incredibly demanding, but the challenge isn't just emotional, it's highly administrative. When families aren't getting the right support, when communication gaps happen, or when reimbursements get delayed because of paperwork bottlenecks, burnout happens fast. What makes this even more concerning is the national capacity shortage. The Administration for Children and Families estimates a national ratio of roughly 57 foster homes for every 100 children currently in care. To put that into perspective, we are operating in a severe deficit. Organizations are constantly tasked with finding placements when the math simply does not add up. That means maximizing the efficiency of the resources and the homes they do have is absolutely critical. So the crucial point here is this: the human toll is directly tied to the administrative burden. When social workers, case managers, and nonprofit staff are forced to spend their limited time navigating disconnected spreadsheets, tracking down physical paper files, or manually entering redundant data, that is time stolen directly from vulnerable children and families. Administrative friction isn't just an office annoyance, In youth services, it's a literal barrier to care. Let's move into Section 1, navigating fragmented compliance demands and the sheer weight of managing multiple funders. Obviously, to do this vital work, you need funding, but that funding comes with a crushing weight of strings attached. Take Cornerstone Human Services as a real-world example. They manage a $2.4 million annual budget and serve over 900 clients. But to pull that off, they're juggling 6 active funders. A federal health and human services grant requires annual trauma-informed care certifications, right? Meanwhile, their state contract mandates mandatory reporter training every 2 years. And the county? They require entirely separate cultural competency tracking. It's like a massive jigsaw puzzle of compliance where every single piece operates on a totally different timeline. I think this quote from Teresa Morales, Cornerstone's executive director, perfectly captures the anxiety of this entire ecosystem. She said, "We used to find out about compliance gaps when a funder asks for documentation." That right there is the exact definition of reactive compliance. It means you're basically crossing your fingers and hoping a gap doesn't surface during a high-stakes audit. And in this sector, failing an audit doesn't just mean a slap on the wrist. It can literally mean losing the funding that keeps your doors open. So what does this actually look like in practice? Well, it looks like the daily reality of manual tracking. Organizations rely on spreadsheets that are out of date the very moment they hit save. They're using ad hoc email folders and shared drives that just aren't synchronized. This inevitably leads to massive compliance blind spots. It creates all these undocumented risks where you simply don't have a real-time accurate picture of your organization's legal and operational standing. Which brings us to Section 2, the shift to outcome measurement and the challenge of proving actual impact. The funding landscape is fundamentally evolving right now. Donors, local governments, and federal agencies don't just want to know you're doing the work anymore. They want concrete proof that it's making a difference. And this brings us to outcomes-based funding. Modern funders aren't satisfied with simply knowing how many kids attended a program. They want to see measurable, longitudinal data showing actual human transformation. They are tying financial support directly to proven developmental, academic, or behavioral improvements over time. Historically, organizations relied on output measurement, tracking attendance, session counts, basic demographics. And for a long time, that was enough. But today, the demand is heavily shifting toward outcome measurement. You have to track behavioral growth, life skills development, and academic success across months or even years. Real funded change happens over time, and your data needs to be able to tell that story clearly.
Because of this, federal reporting mandates have become incredibly rigorous. For example, programs receiving federal grants for runaway and homeless youth must manage quarterly data uploads to specific federal repositories. They have to track demographics precisely, log exact contact hours, and undergo really strict peer monitoring evaluations. If your data is scattered across 5 different spreadsheets, generating these precise, real-time reports is an absolute nightmare. Yet, it's absolutely required to secure ongoing funding. Let's look at Section 3, Bridging Operational Gaps and Reclaiming Time for the Mission. With all of this pressure we've established, how do we actually reclaim time for the mission? Well, first, we have to look at where time is being lost. Consider the typical manual onboarding process for a new staff member. Day 1 is usually just an ad hoc email orientation. By day 4, they're sitting around waiting for an in-person training session to be scheduled because the trainer was busy. It might literally be day 7 before they are cleared for client-facing work. In an industry with high turnover, losing a full week of productivity every time you hire someone is a massive operational gap. And hey, it's not just your internal staff. Vendor and contractor onboarding remains a critical and often hidden liability. When youth organizations hire interpreters, consultants, or outside partners, they need to be oriented on strict client confidentiality policies and safety protocols. When this whole process is handled through informal, untracked email chains, the organization is left highly vulnerable. There's no solid proof that safety and privacy standards were understood or agreed to. So, we arrive at the pivotal question of this entire explainer. With all these moving parts, fragmented tools, and high-stakes requirements, how do we actually unify this complex ecosystem? The answer is fundamentally structural. The solution requires abandoning those fragmented tools altogether. I'm talking about the paper files, the isolated spreadsheets, the endless email threads. You have to move in favor of a singular, centralized foundation. You need an environment where people, processes, and care are connected in one unified space, ensuring everyone is working from the exact same accurate information. Which brings us to Section 4, Unifying with Modern Platforms, Embracing a Purpose-Built Software Solution. Thankfully, the sector is seeing a massive shift towards software designed specifically for nonprofit realities. A prime example of this is Highbox for nonprofits. Instead of stitching together 5 different clunky tools, Highbox consolidates your core operational needs into one seamless digital ecosystem. It brings together program management, board governance, volunteer coordination, and compliance tracking. And crucially, it also features a built-in learning management system, complete with a full training catalog. This unified approach makes task management and daily operations incredibly simple. First, you just map your funder requirements by role. Second, the system auto-assigns the necessary training through that built-in LMS. Third, as your staff completes their courses, it tracks real-time completion status automatically. And finally, it allows you to generate instant audit reports. There's no manual entry, bridging the training and the compliance records. The system just handles the whole shebang. Finally, Section 5, Secure Operations and Next Steps, Protecting Sensitive Data. Now, none of this efficiency matters if the data isn't absolutely safe. Relying on insecure methods like local spreadsheets or consumer messaging apps represents a severe vulnerability. Seriously, one lost consent form can expose an organization to massive liability. In contrast, secure platforms like Highbox provide a fully HIPAA and FERPA-compliant infrastructure. We are talking about 128-bit encryption, comprehensive audit logs, and full business associate agreement execution. It ensures that the sensitive data of the families you serve is locked down tight and fully protected. So, we've seen how fragmented systems drain your resources and how unified platforms can actually reclaim them. I want to leave you with this provocative thought. If your administrative friction vanished tomorrow, how many more lives could you transform? It is time to get back to the mission. Start your free trial or schedule your demo today at highbox.co.